All right, everyone. You may have seen, although it kind of got buried yesterday, Giuliani came out. Trump's, new lawyer, Rudy Giuliani himself. Like there's ever a more New York-style fucking legal team that you could possibly assemble. He came out and then said in an interview, "Oh yeah, Mueller is planning to wrap up the obstruction investigation by September." That's specifically the component of the Mueller probe that involves Trump. This other stuff with Russia involves people who are on Trump's team. A lot of people on the left, if you try to tell them that doesn't even involve Donald Trump, they get red in the face and assume that you're saying, well, Trump is squeaky clean as an angel. No, that's not what I'm particularly saying. No, he's a New York sleazeball. He's a total elitist. He's a Manhattan socialite. He's stabbed a lot of people in the back, and he probably has cooked the books a million times. How do you think he got to where he is in life? By being nice? By being gentle? No, and the government knows this. That's why they're not going to go after him for that. Because he'll expose all of their bullshit because he was part of that same social circle. He knows where the bodies are buried. They're not going to come after him and impeach him. I'm telling you here right now, in 1,000 years, I don't think he'll get impeached. Nope. I never thought he would be impeached. The chances of it were small to begin with and decreased over time as other people got indicted. And I'll tell you why. When Manafort got indicted, someone who's one step from Trump for stuff that happened 10 years ago, to dig that up, especially to name Tony Podesta, a Democrat, the brother of John Podesta himself, number 2 after Hillary Clinton on her fucking campaign, basically the male Huma Abedin. In order for that to have happened, they had to dig really fucking deep, and yet they found nothing on Trump. If they had, they would have released it at the time in connection with the Manafort stuff. Federal judge comes out and puts the entire Mueller probe into question about a week ago, saying, I'm giving you a couple weeks to give me this sealed indictment sort of bullshit, the sealed, warrant or whatever, that allows him to conduct his probe. I want to see the scope of your investigation. Might throw the entire probe in regards to Manafort out. Now that's the big cheese that they've caught is Manafort. If they find that the federal government didn't even act properly in gathering that info, basically everything's out the window. Everyone else is going to go free. Flynn will come forward and say, hey, this stood for Manafort. What about me? They did the same sort of activities with regards to indicting me. I want a second chance too. Flynn will end up getting off the hook. And it won't be because Trump pardoned anyone. Right now, idiot Schumer and fucking what's his name up there? Whoever the governor of New York is. Cuomo, I think. Talking about passing a law there that presidential pardons will magically no longer apply to people within New York. I'm not sure that that's actually legal and constitutional, but he keeps getting pressured to do that. Go ahead, because I don't think Trump's going to have to pardon anyone. I don't think he gives a fuck, by the way, if these people suffer for something they did 10 years ago, because in my belief, they shielded him from knowing. For one very good reason. They knew they knew that Trump, if he found out, would throw them out of the campaign. Because he knew he was being watched. He knew that people on the inside in the government were gunning for him. He had to have known. He's Donald Trump. He's been rubbing elbows with the political and celebrity and bankster elite for 30 fucking years. Do you not think he has a few good people embedded on the inside to feed him info? How do you think that he predicts everything that's going to go on a month before it happens? Oh, this individual is going to go to jail. He's a slime ball. He's worse than Anthony Weiner. I can't remember who he said that about. And then a week ago, he gets taken in on, rape charges or something. I think, wasn't it the New York Attorney General? New York of all places, how do you think that he fucking knew that in the first place? Probably the New York Attorney General, before he was an Attorney General, got drunk and talked to Trump about all of his exploits. And Trump probably has a nice little tape stash somewhere just to prove it. I wouldn't be surprised if he wore a wire in every one of these political functions. They trusted him because he's a billionaire. They assume that he's one of them. He's part of their crowd. He says, hey, I'm Donald Trump. Everything's gold gilded. Everything's ivory and white marble columns. Yeah, come on over and I'm going to stay sober. But here's some really, really expensive liquor. Don't you find it funny that Trump is apparently a teetotaler, but he owns a vineyard? He actually talks openly about how he hates alcohol, and yet he has a vineyard. Why do you... yeah, he's just a moneymaker, dude. Giuliani's not really pressing Mueller. Some people are speculating that he's coming out and saying this because he wants the Mueller probe to end. He sort of talks about Comey and says, well, the last time that there was one of these, sort of ambiguous investigations going on, before an election. You got 2016. Nobody wants that again. Come on, Mueller, you need to wind down the probe and end it, basically. As far as Trump is concerned, you need to make it clear that Trump himself, the obstruction charge, which is literally the only thing Trump has ever been speculated to be investigated for, is bullshit. He didn't obstruct anything. Look, the proof is in the pudding. Supposedly, according to some people on the left, Trump is obstructing the Mueller probe, and yet the Mueller probe continues to go on unabated. The biggest hindrance that it's experienced so far is from a federal judge that was appointed by fucking Ronald Reagan. Has nothing to do with Trump. He didn't obstruct. He's going to be cleared on that. He's not going to get brought up on obstruction charges. Are you nuts? Like, you have to understand one thing within politics. The President of the United States is supposed to be subject to the same laws as everyone else in exactly the same manner. But we've seen throughout time heavy hitter politicians are not actually subject to the same censure. If it was reasonably construed that he obstructed, he still wouldn't get brought up on charges, because it would cause massive political turmoil for what ultimately is a fairly mundane thing that happens all the time. They're not going to bring him up on that. No, the only thing you're going to bring him up on, and I don't think that he will, because I don't think he did this, would be something like treason. Open treason, conspiracy with a foreign state in regards to the election, but he didn't do that. I don't think that he did. What I think is that opportunists, which is what Trump surrounds himself with, for better or for worse, from time to time, they were acting on their own accord and very explicitly kept Donald in the dark about these things. You know why they would? Because they knew that they would get hammered by him. He would go full apprentice on him. He'd literally throw the book at them and some plates. He'd begin to look like Hillary Clinton. He'd be throwing those $1,000 Trump wine bottles at their heads if he found out that Paul Manafort was working with Tony Podesta years ago and did tell him that he was laundering money. Oh, yeah, you forgot to mention that one. Get the fuck out of my office. That's honestly what I think he would react as. This is prefaced on one basic thing. I said during the election, he wants the Triple Crown. He doesn't want to go down in history as a shitty villain-like president. He's already got all the wealth. So he's got wealth. That's one part of the Triple Crown. He's got fame. He's a celebrity, with The Apprentice, part of the Stern universe, Miss America, world, wrestling. He's very famous. He's extremely well known, especially now that he's been the president. That sort of seals that capstone too. He wants the third, which is power. How exactly is he supposed to gain that if he ends up getting impeached? It'll be a do-nothing presidency. It'll be the next Millard Fillmore. He doesn't want that. He's not willing to take any chances. Look, he's a 70-year-old man. He knows that he's in probably his last decade of life. By the way, I don't know how he scarfs down so much McDonald's and actually maintains a decent physique for his age. That's actually a little bit astonishing to me. They have him on some super drugs or something, I tell you that much. Yeah, now he gets the CIA super drugs. Can you imagine what they must inject presidents with? In order to prevent chaos, we need to keep you alive. So, take this fucking pill. Just trust us on this one. They'd probably give him stuff that the Nazis would have been given. Like Hitler, he was doped up to the eyeballs every day with cocaine injections among everything else, which is why he was scrambled by the end of his term. But Giuliani isn't really pressing Mueller, I think. I think it's more a statement of fact, which is that the Mueller probe has to end before the midterms. I don't even think that the deep state really wants the kind of chaos that'll go on. They don't want it to be a political issue anymore. Unfortunately, that means handing the Republicans a massive victory when Mueller has to come and say, no, Trump did nothing wrong. Well, bye-bye, there goes the Russian collusion sort of bullshit. It's going to be really, really easy. Without that cloud hanging over the head of the GOP, things become 1,000 times easier. The other possibility, of course, is that he is trying to press Mueller, in which case Mueller will drag this on, as I've said prior, might be the case for Trump's entire presidency. The idea being that if the Democrats retake the House, it makes them easier to put the screws to the whole admin and make it look like he's guilty even if they still have zero evidence. They can keep the probe going forever, in other words. My recommendation, of course, is I'll just endorse all Republican candidates within the House in competitive states. They should win in order to maintain GOP control there. That way they'll have to end the probe. They'll have no choice. After that, they're going to be pressured every single fucking day to end the probe. If they don't have anything after 2 years of nonstop investigating, what do you think they're going to find? This was a common DNC talking point with Benghazi. There you had people that actually got killed And after a fairly cursory initial investigation, you don't have any indictments. You don't have any evidence of any wrongdoing. Even if it's common sense that there was wrongdoing, you're never going to find evidence of it. You got to end the probe at some point. At some point, you have to stop investigating. You can't perpetually bog down the entire U.S. political system on a fucking whim. You have to have some sort of evidence, and it looks like what they did is just go digging for evidence to justify digging. That's not the way that the legal system works. Giuliani knows what went on. He's a high-powered legal individual. He's a high-powered political individual working with the fucking president. He's not, trust me, Giuliani and Trump teaming up is the legal dream team. There's nothing Mueller can do at this point. That's about all. Peace out.